guys, what's up? It's ShadowRavenGaming here. Many of you may know and are probably viewing this video from an older video. Anyways, I did an older list titled Top 10 Underrated Nintendo 64 Games, where I listed off some of my all-time favorite, lesser-known games on the system. To put it lightly, it sucked. I have siphoned through 80 plus comments talking about how poor the quality is, how lame the list is, and overall how bad the video was, and I 100% agree. I did that video back when I used an internal mic on my notebook computer. I didn't script any of my videos, and overall I didn't edit them either, so I practically rushed through them just to get it over with. I have grown in my knowledge of Nintendo 64 games, and of course my collection has grown with that. That being said, I have ran across some gems, and I'm educated more in games and perfectly Nintendo 64 games. So to make this shorter than it should be, I've made my production quality better by audio and video enhancements. My knowledge is a lot more vast. I have grown up, if you will, and overall my channel and my own being of videos has grown immensely. I want to thank all who have seen my previous video, who liked it, who left a nice comment, and who subscribed. Thanks. Just so I do not make this longer than necessary, here is the list. To cut down confusion, hate, and overall choices I had to make making this list is in no specific order. Yeah, that's right, no numbers, just games. As always, this is my opinion on games. Any I missed, feel free to kindly leave your favorites down below. I hope you find some games you didn't know about, or at least enjoy the production. Thanks so much, guys, and without further ado, here is my list. Kicking off the list is one of my all-time favorite games on the console, and hands down my favorite racer on the system. Destruction Derby 64 is a fun, action-filled derby and race simulator with nice physics and overall fun gameplay. Destruction Derby 64 has a very challenging and quite fun solo mode, where you unlock many cars and maps throughout the campaign. You start this great game with 12 derby cars as you progress throughout the levels. You earn many other cars, from a taxi cab to an ambulance, to end the total at 24. Somewhat like a cousin to the more popular demo racer Vigilante 8, which is very fun as well. Destruction Derby 64 is a top-notch demo racer, and it has very top-notch gameplay mechanics for the time period. A super fun multiplayer for party play, a very challenging yet addictive campaign, nice unlockables, and one heck of a fun time. Next up on the list is a somewhat incognito gem, Mickey's Speedway USA. Yes, another racer. Many Nintendo fanboys, or anyone who has been in contact with a Nintendo handheld or console, knows what Mario Kart is. And there is a 90% chance that they love it. It takes all the characters they love, puts them in go-karts, and make them race. Very similar to what Super Smash Bros. Does, but instead, that's fighting. Welcome to Mickey's Speedway. Mickey's Speedway USA takes all of our beloved Disney characters and adds them into a whole new environment. Aside from the great Mickey platformers we saw on the Super Nintendo and Genesis, Mickey Speedway is a very fun kart racer packed with very fun tracks, a great soundtrack, and some freaking awesome power-ups. Yes, it may be somewhat of Disney's attempt at a Mario Kart game, but it is very fun, addictive, and it's totally worth a go if you like kart racers. Alright now, off the topic of racers, we have a platformer. Mischiefmakers is not your average Nintendo 64 platformer. Using 3D effects, the developers at Treasure took platforming back to the previous gen with side-scrolling action. As you take control of Marina Lightyears, the main protagonist, you are thrust into a whole new gaming experience, Planet Clancer. Mischiefmakers has a very unique story as well as very unique characters. The platforming is very solid, the atmosphere is wacky, and the music fits in really nicely. This vibrant and fun platformer is somewhat of a diamond in the rough. Although it has a very high cult following, Mischiefmakers is deep inside the annals of exquisite games on the console. Do yourself a favor and pick up Mischiefmakers. You will not regret it. Like myself, many gamers have a knack for that one certain genre, mine being role-playing games. Anyone who has the slightest knowledge about the Nintendo 64 knows it highly lacks good RPGs. Yes, we had The Legend of Zelda, but as fun as it is, the topic of is it an RPG is very controversial. We had Quest 64, but although it may be nostalgic, it's not that great. Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber, is a spectacular RPG, but due to a very low print run, it is left at a very, very valuable game. It's also very rare as well, which can leave us at about $50 to $100 for just the cartridge. One game is left, once again, deep inside the annals of unknown Nintendo 64 games. Eiyuden Chronicles, the savior for RPG fans like myself. The White Knight, the Dovahine, the Cloud Strife. The Eiyuden Chronicles just showcased many spectacular things that us nerds missed out on. Keep in mind, it's no Final Fantasy VII, but with the cartridge space, which is around 64 megabytes, the graphical technology, and the fairly low demand for RPGs, Eiyuden Chronicles is the best we get. With that being said, it is no means a bad game. The story is top-notch for it being an older RPG. The characters aren't too shabby either. The music is rather nice, and previously stated, with the low amount of cartridge space, the graphics are fair. For around $7 to $10, Eiyuden Chronicles is totally worth a play, and definitely deserves a spot on an RPG or N64 collector's shelf. If you're a gamer, chances are you've played a horror game with monsters and blood and jump scares and brains and dead people and guns. Here's Yoshi's story. Now, yes, before I go on, I know what you're all thinking. That's not scary, or that's no underrated, I played that when I was a kid. Or, I really think that quickscoping takes skill. It also shows who really knows what they're doing in gaming. And I'll say to that, it may be the most popular game on this list, I will agree. But compared to the people I come in contact with, Yoshi's story is somewhat underrated. Our little pal Yoshi came onto the scene from my all-time favorite Mario game, Super Mario Bros. 3, on the Nintendo Entertainment System. He then had his own game, Yoshi, and then Yoshi's Cookie, which is a very, very fun puzzle game. Many gamers in the 1990s were introduced to Yoshi by Super Mario World, due to his prominence in the game. In 1998, our little dinosaur came back into the side-scrolling world with Yoshi's Story. Yoshi's Story has a very vivid, cute, and lovable atmosphere. It takes you into somewhat of a book, graphic-wise, just like Borderlands does, but with less blood and guns and midget psychos, I guess? The side-scrolling aspects of the game are also very, very fun. Collecting fruit as you venture on with different colored Yoshis, the music combined with the atmosphere as well as gameplay is the one true challenge of making someone anti-depressed. Once you turn on your N64 and hear the happy and cute little intro music, you're thrusted into a cheerful, side-scrolling adventure. Back on subject with a real survival horror game, Nightmare Creatures. Now, just like RPGs, there was not a huge plethora of horror games on the N64. Yes, there may have been more horror games than RPGs, but it still lacked some of the great horror games that the PlayStation had. We had Resident Evil 2, which has some very, very suspenseful moments and some very fun gameplay. There were a few other creepy games with that certain atmosphere, just like Majora's Mask, but no other designated scary game. That's where Nightmare Creatures comes into play. Nightmare Creatures is a game that is set in London in the year 1834, where an evil cult of devil worshippers called the Brotherhood of Hecate are doing experiments in London to take over the world. With the choice of two characters, Father Ignatius Blackward, a man of God who uses his bow staff to his best benefit, and Nadia, who uses her fine swordplay to stop evil. Combining many elements, Nightmare Creatures takes the player to a whole new level of creepy. Atmosphere, monsters, music, and battle. Nightmare Creatures is one hell of a game and forgotten about by many. Many of you may remember this one as number 1 on my first video. Yes, I still love this game. This game is somewhat of a mixed opinion. Many remember this game from their childhood. I know I sure do, but overall, with all of the games on the console and definitely platformer titles, this game is left out in the dust. It feels like a Bomberman game, but with full 3D. It takes what Barman 64 did, and it just makes it right. It has a top-notch soundtrack with some awesome drum and bass music that I eventually and actually have on my iPod. It has some very easy controls to maneuver. Yes, it can be somewhat slick, but overall the controls are not too tedious. To put all the details in perspective, the game is very fun. Yes, it may just be my opinion showing through to some, and yes, it's not the most rare or underrated N64 Bomberman game. That is Bomberman 2, The Second Attack, and sadly, I currently don't own the game. But overall, Barman Hero is a fun game that I honestly believe platformer fans such as myself will enjoy if they give the time to play the game. Heck, if you don't like it, just listen to the music. I'm 100% sure you'll love that. Ah, the good old days of Robotron 2084. The multiple hours I spent playing the top-down sci-fi arcade gem. With the turn of the century, us fans of the previous game got a new Robotron game, Robotron 64. With all of 2084's aspects combined with 3D graphics and a bumpin' techno soundtrack, this game is one heck of a great time. Put all of your childhood memories. Take Dr. Kleiner. Take guns and robots and humans. Take neon colors from a scene girl's hair. And all 4, soon to be 5, of Daft Punk's awesome albums. Put them in a blender, turn it on, take a big ol' sip, and you have yourself a tall glass of Robotron 64. The world is in dire need of your help, sir. The terrorist organization, the Crying Lions, are in the possession of a space laser weapon. It's your duty, Mr. Gene Luck Cougar, to stop those terrorists. The third-person shooter combines a very interesting plot, mixes it with very fun gameplay, and takes you on a new ride. Many gamers at the time were still playing the notorious GoldenEye 64, which as we all know follows James Bond around, who is also a secret agent. The main difference between these two games is 007 is a first-person shooter, while Winback is a third-person shooter. 007 is also more prominent, while Operation Winback is sadly lesser known. Operation Winback has fairly nice controls, while somewhat hard to maneuver if you were used to the first-person shooter genre on the system. It does have some very fun gameplay. Winback also featured a laser sight on weapons, which would in turn add to many future games using this mechanic. Winback is an overall good game that at sometimes can get hard to play, but it gives the other end of the shooter coin that many people did not see in the Nintendo 64 era.
Kicking people off motorcycles, beating them with wooden sticks, speeding down the road. No, I ain't talking about Detroit, I'm talking about Road-Rash 64. You can play with all 3 of your faggot friends or play by your stupid self and have as much fun. You're a pansy? Well, get out of here. You can't handle this metal game. Go change your panties, you fairy. This game is real tough. Talking spalty spittoon tough. It's as blunt as the object that chick just bludgeoned you off your crotch rocket with. Want to have a nice family dirt bike race? Go eat a doo-doo sandwich. This game is real brutal.
We interrupt this program to allow ShadowRavenGaming to put on new pants. Please stand by. By a show of hands, how many people love sci-fi based games? I mean, really? Anybody? Like, with technology and stuff, like sci-fi? Anybody? Anybody? Oh, okay. Here's Forsaken 64, a fantastic shooter that takes us back to 1995 with Descent on the MS-DOS. You take role of someone in a space pod, somewhat like Descent. You fly through the corridors of a space complex, just like Descent. The controls are very easy to maneuver, and you can go fast, and they're very slick to go through all the corridors easily. Not really like Descent. Forsaken 64, you can't see, is very similar to the Descent on the MS-DOS. It has guns, spaceships, and bad guys. Forsaken 64 has a very fun plot. Shoot things. It's very easy to maneuver, it's cool to play, and the music, again, just like every other futuristic 1990s game, has cool music. I was searching for a fun, yet easy to find sci-fi shooter. Well, if you're like me, here's Forsaken. Duck Dodgers. Duck Dodgers is obviously based on the very awesome cartoon. I will warn you once again, there is a super nostalgic game. It is very closely related to the cartoon, and you can easily see the resemblances of the cartoon and Warner Brothers. Wacky music, wacky worlds, and wacky gameplay. This game takes me back to my childhood, and it is definitely a fun platformer that if you enjoy platformers, you should play it. If you are looking for platformers on this list, well, I hope you're happy. Here is another platformer to add to the list of games that I'm making you play. Rocket, Robot on Wheels. You travel through the 6 many diverse and fun levels of Whoopee World as a little strong robot named Rocket. As you explore these worlds, you learn new moves and techniques from Tinker, a robot that you pay in tokens that you find around the maps. You also go through the platforming stages, solving puzzles and collecting tokens, having a fun time. If you're tired of playing Mario 64 or Donkey Kong 64 for 7+ times now, try Rocket to be submerged into a neat and new environment. Is that not enough encouragement for you to play this game? Well, Nintendo Power, rest in peace, stated that Rocket Robot on Wheels was the 24th best Nintendo 64 game. Get off your butt and give it a try. Last up on the list, Turok 2. Turok 2 takes you on an adrenaline-filled ride, fighting off dinosaurs in a prehistoric world. Combining the gameplay of Quake with the entities of Land Before Time, but with more blood and stuff. You get an overall fun game with a great story, great gameplay, and marvelous graphics for the time period. The levels are easy to maneuver through, but not boring. It has challenges as well as enemies along the way. With a fairly nice range of weapons, you don't get awfully bored with the weapon scheme. Turok 2 Seeds of Evil takes all the things we loved from Turok and adds them into a more enjoyable atmosphere and a way better game. Turok has evolved into many other epic games, and we can thank Turok 2 for bringing the dinosaur hunter to the next level.
Greetings, Tarak. How may I assist you?
Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed, hit that subscribe button right there, and check out my other videos. I hope the revamped version of this list was better than the previous video. I also hope I showed you guys some games you may not have known about, or at least you enjoyed watching my opinion on some lost gems. Keep in mind, it's my opinion and this list was not ordered. Thanks again, guys, for almost 10,000 video views, and I will see you all in the next video. Keep it up, God bless, and happy gaming.